This is my top 10 films of February 2018. I say top 10 because only the first 5 are worthy of a top 10 list. The bottom 5 are the worst films probably I've seen all year round. That includes for several years, and that includes some of the Oscar winners. So this is going to be a controversial episode to say the least. So number 10, I'm going to put as Three Billboards. Now, Three Billboards is, I can't be bothered saying the full title, in Minnesota or something like that. Anyway, is a boring film. I've not watched the end of it. I watched the first 45 minutes and was bored out of my mind. You're watching this one woman who's obviously depressed, speaking to these other characters who are movie stars in their own right, but they're all so disinterested. None of them think that the film they're in is obviously a decent film, so they're all just phoning it in, and they're all going on about how bored with this, and they're coming across so monotoned that you don't feel you don't care. I don't care about anybody, none of them. And by 45 minutes, I'd given up. And the fact that this film got all these Oscar wins and Oscar nominations and all these awards just clearly says how biased that the award season is. It is such a joke that you could give these films any kind of recognition when I can't even bear through 45 minutes of it before I have to turn it off, which is going to get worse on number 9. But Three Billboards, if you want something to fall asleep with, that will somewhat get you there. But from what I've read about the script, it gets even darker and depressing in the second half. I don't know, just skip it. But that also brings me to number 9 on this list, which is I, Tanya. I hated I, Tanya. Again, it's another film that I only got 45 minutes through. Basically, if it wasn't for the main actress, it being Harley Quinn, I can't remember her name, whatever it was, she carries the film. She's a great actress, she's easy to look at, and that makes it eye candy really much for the cinema goer. But unfortunately, she comes across as a very nasty person, and her mother is a very nasty, strict person as well. And it's interesting watching her story and her relationship with her mother show how her upbringing and what she had. And I'm going to compare this to Corey Feldman's autobiography, Corey biography, if I can pronounce it. It's something to that nature, but it's an amazing book, and his audiobook is superb. I do recommend it. But it's basically, he details his life as a movie star and his upbringing and his relationship with his mother. And if you like I, Tanya, you will love this book, because this book doesn't hold anything back. I, Tanya holds back because it has to portray it on the screen, and it doesn't want to cause any conflict with kind of people who are still in the industry. Corey basically can go to town on the works. And that's a problem with I, Tanya, because you're always left thinking, you've sugarcoated this situation. You're showing us something bad, but you're only taking it so far, and you're not really showing us the truth, because you don't want that 18, or you don't want to alienate your audiences. And I, Tanya just really goes, every single time you think, okay, now we're going to get some juice, it just lets us down. And after 45 minutes of watching Margot Robbie basically be an actress again, you start to wonder, again, I'm bored. Nothing's actually happening. We're not really getting the meat of the story. We all know that at the end of the film, Margot Robbie's going to break this person's leg in order to try and win her place in the car. I know the story. I don't even know the news story. I just know from what I've heard going into the advertising of the film. So I already know the ending now, without even knowing the news or the real world article of it. So I got bored and turned it off after 45 minutes. Yes. So I, Tanya, I'm ranking it at number 9 because of the performance by Margot Robbie, which puts it above Three Billboards. But both of them I hated with a vengeance, and I will probably hate all Oscar films. Especially number 8, which is Phantom Thread. Again, I hated it. Why is it a winning? Why are all these Oscar winners designed to depress you? The end of the film, these are spoiler moments. So I'm going to spoiler everything. Phantom Thread is about a married couple, a slowly paced, monotoned, long drag of a film. It's 2.5 hours too long. It should have been 5 minutes. And basically, there's no music. It's just dull people talking while the guy makes dresses, and the wife eventually decides to start poisoning him, and because she thinks that she gets more love when he's ill. And that's the story that eventually gets told. I had to see this in the cinema, and I was going with a friend, so we both sat through it. And I have seen the end, but I would not have. I would maybe if I had have seen the end, this would be number 10, because I would not have. If I had the DVD of this one before the screeners came out, I would have turned it off. But no, I saw this on the big screen and was there throughout the whole film. I couldn't fall asleep because I wanted to, and I watched the story of these people. I suppose because it's a full film, it does portray this person's life, and I don't know if it was based on a true story. It seems like it was, but I couldn't find any reference to a true story in the media anyway. And so you get the idea of someone who's just a perfectionist, a person who lives his own life, lives by his own set of rules, and the woman wants to be part of it, so she's changing herself to please her man, but unfortunately she can't. They can only do so much, and there's that kind of they start to rub the clashes of egos and things like this. I don't want to talk any more about it because it was depressing. I never want to watch it again, and it ranks as number 8 on this list, which is, don't watch it, avoid it like the plague. But it won all these Oscars, so if you like that kind of stuff, you might like Tanya and 3 Billboards as well. Okay, now I get to number 7. Okay, 7 is where I can start to actually say films that I sort of enjoyed, and I say sort of because number 7 is Ferdinand. Ferdinand is the animated feature with John Cena as the title role of this little bull, and basically it's all about how bulls are going to get chopped up and turned into sausages and burgers, and basically they want to avoid going to the burger factory, so instead they're going to go to an arena and fight each other to the death. This is a kids film. This is a kids animation about a lovable, cute talking animals going to either kill each other or be turned into burgers. And I think I took I took my niece to see this film with me. She's only 4. I took my 4-year-old niece to see it, and it's not I didn't know about the content at the time, so ignoring that, she was bored. She was bored silly, and she wanted to go. In fact, the couple, the cinema was almost empty, but there was a family in front of me with 2 children, and they left halfway through. This was before the real revelation of the burger factory came out. They were just bored, and they left. But because I was with my niece, she kind of stuck with me, or just sat there watching it. Eventually she got bored before the end of the film, but we were like 10 minutes away, so we just she was still bored for the whole process, but she'd been calm until the last 10 minutes, and then it was like, oh, can we just watch the credits just so I can say I've seen it, kind of thing. The animation is fine. It's again, I cannot recommend it. It's just a film that has to be there. The voice acting from John Cena was great, but he's not got much to work with the script, and there's no musical numbers. I don't think there were any musical numbers, so it's not got any rewatchability factor drawn into it either. So that ranks as number 7, just because it was a pretty bad month for the films that I had to see. Number 6 was Finding Your Feet. Now this was a UK release about an elderly couple who one of them has an affair, and so the other one has to move back in with her sister. That's never explained why, because when the couple split, she isn't poor. She comes from a rich family, so she should have just moved to a travel lodge, or a hotel, or any of those friends who were at that party they were at. But no, she moves back in with her sister, starts attending a dance class, starts another relationship. It's an old people couple film. This is a film for the older generation. It just basically is your Sunday afternoon matinee film about a couple of old people who go to a dance class and start to form new relationships with a backdrop of death, because they're old, so certain people start dying, certain main characters start dying. Can they find love? And there's this big standard classic love chase scene at the end of the film, which doesn't need to be there but clearly is, just because the film needs an ending. It's a nice calm film. It ranks as number 6 for this month, but again, it's not going to be a film I'm ever going to watch again, and It's a good to see some British talent, especially on this list, because there's not many films that are British releases that are going to be featuring in my series, but I will see them all. And this has some of the Joanna Lumley, I think, was in it, and some other stars. So yeah, it is what it is. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to move on to number 5, which is the Cloverfield Paradox from Netflix. This was a secret release. Cloverfield came out of nowhere. It was just released on Netflix one day. Nobody knew it was coming. Nobody was expecting it. Nobody had any idea that it was even being made. Just one day, there was a new Cloverfield film. Now, the script itself, once you've read it, once you've seen it, you will know why it went straight to Netflix. And it has some stupid scenes with an arm that can write by itself, and it can crawl, but it's just why? If they're in this alternate universe, why is an arm moving by itself? It makes no sense. Why do they have? If you've got this other pilot who suddenly melded into the woman, I can't remember her name. She was when they teleported into the universe, she was embedded inside of the wall. Well, shouldn't she be dead? Okay, no, they're going to release her, and the next scene she's fully healed. Well, okay, and now I want to sabotage the ship so I can take the ship back to my reality because our ship's gone. But surely you need the plans, and you have the plans already, so you could build another ship already because of the ship you built. You've already just said it. There's problems. But if you can put that to one side, there is a film set on a space station or a spaceship trying to find this energy source where they teleport to another universe, and you've got this massive space adventure film. It's very reminiscent of Event Horizon, feels a bit like Interstellar and Sunshine, those kind of big sci-fi epic films where it's set on a spaceship. And for those reasons alone, it earns a place on this list at number 5. Because it's very ambitious with what it's trying to tell, even though it doesn't exactly tell it in the right, that makes much sense. And it does tie itself to the Cloverfield universe, even if some of those scenes feel tacked on. Because it feels like you've got your main plot and the B unit shot a subplot, and they've just interjected that into the main plot when they really have no relation to each other. In fact, I don't think any of the characters intersect. There's no real reason for why they're in the Cloverfield universe. But ignoring that part, it's a fun watch on Netflix. You can pick it up for free, and you can watch a big space adventure, and that makes it pretty cool. Number 4, I'm going to get a drink now so you can carry me ranting for now, is a film called All the Money in the World. Now, this was the big controversial film that had Kevin Spacey in there originally, and after what he did, he got edited out of the film and they replaced him with the other actor. I can't remember his name. You wouldn't notice any of that. All the scenes with the new actor perfectly blend into the project. You would not notice until I just told you just then that there's anything wrong with the film. The film itself is based on a true story apparently, and it's about a kidnapping of a kidnapping of a child, and the child wants to try and escape, and the parents are trying to find him, and there's been a ransom demand, and so the parents go to the grandfather, who is the richest man on the planet, and ask for the bail money, and he refuses. There's more to the story than that, but basically it's a good film. It's set, I think it's the 1970s, which is a strange thing for me because I'm not a big fan of the period dramas or films set in the past, but it had enough of a plot and it had enough movement to keep me interested. The main actors do an excellent job. The pacing could have been picked up, but there are genuine moments when the guy's like setting fire to the bush outside the cabin he's locked in, and he tries to escape the child, and unfortunately not every plan works because there is a story, but it does have that happy ending, as much as lack of a better word. I don't think we needed to see the ending to our the billionaire, excuse me there. Okay, the main character. It's not the drinking 7-Up. But it's a generally good film. It's a good, decent ransom film, and if you like those kind of thrillers where you're wondering what would you do in that situation, would you lend this person the money? Would you try and do this, do that? How would you get out of the situation? it definitely deserves a place on this list at number 4. Number 3 is The Shape of Water. Now, the world went mad for this film. It's Abe Sapien, the movie. The film everybody wanted, the Hellboy spin-off, the Abe Sapien character. This is his pre-origin movie. This is the story how he joined the British Paranormal Research Division. It's not exactly. It's set the same character, same actor, same director, I think, and we never too sure. Those two universes are never mixed together, so we don't know. It would make sense, and that's what most of the people are believing online for the reviews, but we never get explained that. The film has a style. It has a great style, very artistic, deserving of many of the awards that it won. But it's not without faults. I mean, the woman feeds the monster eggs, which has still got the shells on them, and it's like, and then he starts eating them with a shell. But that's not really explained if that's right or wrong, or maybe the shells were off and they're just white eggs. I'm not sure. And then there's moments where the woman who doesn't talk is stripped off naked in front of the monster, and we're having bestiality on the screen. And it's like, well, you know what? It's probably the wrong year to bring that kind of stuff out. We've got enough problems in that department already. So there's a few things that are awkward about it. I think, if anything, the style of what the style and the tempo is what saves it and gives it that 3 out of 10 spot. However, I'm not going to watch it again. I've seen it once. I have no ambition to watch it ever again. And I think you will find the same thing. Even the people who have given it great reviews, I doubt they'll ever watch it again. Once you've seen it, there's nothing new in there. You know the plot, you know the story. It's not as if you're going to watch it for any action scenes. There aren't any. There's not a fantasy. It's just a very quiet, subdued film with some great artistic shots. It's one of those watch once only movies. So yeah, it's up to you whether you can catch it one day on television. That's all you really need to do to have seen it, in my opinion. It's what it is. So number 2 is Molly's Game. Now, Molly's Game is this film starring Jessica Chastain, I think it was, and I'll hopefully have a comment there if that's wrong. And basically, it's the rise and fall of her as one of these kind of casino operators who starts up her own kind of gambling operation, and how she became where she was in her job. I like biographies, films where it details the beginning, the journey of a person's life and what made them famous and popular, which is why it needs to be put on film. I love The Founder and other films of that nature. So Molly's Game ranks high for me, and I just loved everything about it in regards to seeing the rise and fall of this person, and knowing it's based on a true story makes it even more interesting to me, because then you start to wonder, well, this is what actually happened, and these famous people did turn up for the games. Gambling is an addiction. She was taking advantage of it, and she got addicted to the money as much as they got addicted to playing, and she also got addicted to the power, and how it turned on her back when she had to take drugs. It's a good film. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will watch it again because I like those kind of films, but I have to be in the mood. I'll be honest. It's not one of those I will just put it on every once a year for the fun of it. No. When I'm in the mood for a film like that, I will watch it again. But so I suppose a bit like A Shape of Water is one of those films I highly recommend you watched once and make up your own mind over it. But it's probably the second best film of February, which I think will mean the number 1 film for February, which I can't imagine anybody else would have said anything. If you've got any idea from what's behind me, my number 1 film is Black Panther. Now, I am a big comic book junkie. I'm mad on the Marvel Universe. The DC Universe, I'm losing faith in, but let's just ignore that for a moment. But let me start by saying Black Panther was not my favourite Marvel film. In fact, although I've had to watch it 3 times now, I don't have any ambitions to watch it again. Black Panther was a film of 2 halves. The first half was him against Claw, and they sort of wrapped that story up, and then as soon as that film finished, A second film started immediately afterwards, starring the other Black Panther, Killjoy. And so basically you've got two films, it's as though they had two writers who both wrote their own Black Panther film. They liked them both, so they said chop it down to 40, chop that down to an hour, chop that down to an hour, we'll put them next to each other and we'll shoot both films back to back. So it feels like you're seeing Black Panther 1 and 2 at the same time. So you get your first film is about him, his father dying, him becoming king, and basically him taking up the mantle. And the second film is about him being, the contention for the mantle, and basically him having to defend, realize what it means to actually be a king. But they really are two films shot next to each other, put together, and you feel that. You just feel it. It's the film lacks a coherent, solid structure, and then you start to wonder, why is this nation so powerful? I mean, Wakanda has this magic metal, which can solve medicines, can do metal, but it can be armor. It can hide itself inside a bracelet. Okay, but how does having this special metal equate to wealth in a world where they've isolated themselves? Because it is still just a substance, and the substance does not grant intelligence. So we have the world outside of Wakanda. There's a world of 7 billion people, and only the 1 in a billion person, like Steve Jobs, comes up and invents something. I say Steve Jobs, but there's only several geniuses amongst that number of people. Wakanda, from what we can see, is a nation of probably a couple of thousand. There's not that many people, especially in its world history, to be that smart and come up with all the inventions that they have. And without any trading relationships, there's no way it could have actually built those entire buildings in a desert. The materials don't exist. And then you've got the point where they've got the ship they've got the ships that they have to shoot down. On one ship at the end, Martin Freeman is holding in the holographic controls, and he's trying to shoot down these ships with just one shot. Well, the ship outside the window is firing at the window, and it says structural integrity 50%. It's a glass window. It's not even Wakandian metal. It's just a glass window, and the ship takes a minute to destroy a piece of glass and it fires 2 shots and then waits. Fires 2 shots and then waits. Like, why? It makes no sense. And then you start to moan about, okay, so the 2 Black Panthers are having the big fight on the monorail track, which is silly. The ship, it's a tiny city. Why is there a monorail train? They've got these flying ships. They've got hover bikes. They were talking about them with Martin Freeman's character. Why would anybody build a rail track to nowhere? They're outside. They're isolated in a community. They're not doing trades with other countries, so there's no need to build a train system. It's a tiny, tiny little town. A train system is a waste of time. But the sound, the train is made out of vibranium, and they control it with sound waves. They said all this. So when the Black Panthers are down there and the sound waves are blasting, it hurts their suits, and they can't use the armors that they've got. But they're still having a conversation. These are sound waves. You can't talk through a sound wave tunnel. You'll be deaf if you were that close to it as well. Unfortunately, I screamed at so many moments about how many flaws there were in the technology, in the world building. I just felt that they were rushing to get the film out, and that the script needed tightening. It needed another proofread. It needed someone melding the whole cohesive narrative together. Give Killjoy, I think that's his name, whatever his name is, but he needed more scenes at the beginning. We did need this big revelation moment for him. We didn't need to see the end, that Wakanda's going to turn a block of flats into an embassy or a science centre. As good as what it was not a film I have any ambition of watching again after seeing it 3 times. And it's one of those films that you're going to have to watch, but overall, I doubt it'll be on the top 10 list of the year. Let me put it that way. So February. So number 1 was Black Panther. Number 2 was Molly's Game. Number 3 was Shape of Water. Number 4 was All the Money in the World. Number 5 was Cloverfield Paradox. Number 6 was Finding Your Feet. Number 7 was Ferdinand. Number 8 was Phantom Thread. Number 9 was Tanya. And number 10 was 3 Billboards in Minnesota. Wherever it is. So, Mississippi. So that's my February list. I'm going to rant now about January until I'm sick and tired of films. But hopefully you enjoyed it, and it hopefully give you some ideas of what films you might want to watch when they come out on Netflix, which will probably be next week because some of these are pretty old now. Happens quite fast. Until next time, bye.